Welcome to all of you. Okay, now in this period, we are discussing about the living life processes. Okay, what are the importance about the life processes? Which factors? Okay, effect on the our life. Which things are living? Which molecules? Which processes? And that all. Here we are discussing. Now, in the life processes, here from fifth standard, we are a study about the living and non-living beings, biotic and abiotic factors. Okay, if we have taken the example of the dogs, okay, which are the here the cow, they also doing things in that the dog is running, cow chewing, a cube, a man shouting loudly on the street. Okay, we know that these are a living being. Okay, because of whether the any living being, they are showing some sign, they are showing some characteristic. Okay, whether we know the characteristic of the livings, we are easily identifying the this is the living being. Okay, maximum means movement. In first example, dog is running, dog is also doing the movement is the one of the characteristic of the living beings. Move. Okay, living being are easily move. In second example, cow is achieving. Okay, means eating, intaking the food, taking the nutritions. That is the one another example of the living being. Shouting. Okay, it is the one of the example of the living being. Means that are the characteristic of the living being. We know that. Tell me some important characteristic of the living beings. One, they are alive. First, they grow. Second, for the growth, they need a food. Okay. Third, excretion. Excretion means to remove the waste from the body, waste material. Third one, sorry, fourth one is movement. The living being are easily move. Okay. Now, growth, death. Okay, that are the some characteristics. In 8th standard, we are study in detail about the characteristic. Whether we are discussing about the plant, okay, here some examples: dog, cow, man asleep. Okay, we know that. We would still think that they were alive, but how did we know that? We see that a breathing, no, and we know that they are alive. Okay, what about plant? Okay, plant are a living being, but plant are not a shouting. Okay, but plant also breathing. We see them a green, so of as well same. But what about plant that having that leaves of color, okay, other than green? They grow over time, so we know that they are alive. Some I will say, in other words, we tend to think of some sort of a movement, either growth related or not, as a common evidence for being alive, but a plant that is not visibly growing, okay, is still alive. And some animals can breathe without a visible movement. So, using a visible movement as the defined characteristic of a living is not enough. Okay, means the visible movement is visible or non-visible. Both movements are most important whether we want to define the living beings. Maximum times, plant also unable to show the growth. We are unable to see the growth of the plant, but plants also grow. Okay, plant also grow. In fifth standard, we are studying a one activity or one experiment. We are taking a two plants. Okay, one is putting outside and other is putting in inside the room. Okay, after the 15 days, we are seeing a growth in those plants we are putting outside the or inside outside the home or in the garden is a very good growth we are observing in that plant, but those are put inside the room, it's not a valley grow. Another one is example, when we are putting one gardening plant in the window, okay, it grow toward the light sunlight. Okay, means that is the one type of growth. We are not seen visibly, but it is a sign of the living. Here, that all things means here the most important, those are visible, that are the also characteristic of the living being. Those are non-visible, that are the also means breathing. We are unable to see, but we are feel it. Okay, it is the sign of the growth. Okay, so a movement over very small scale will be invisible to the naked eyes. Okay, means those movement are in very small scale. We are unable to see that. Okay, here the movement of the molecule, for example, is this a invisible molecular movement unnecessary for our life? Okay, means those are molecular process in our body that are invisible. Okay, we are not applicable to see that. Means maximum when we are seeing the our body need oxygen, our body need nutrition, but that we are unable to see because that are invisible movements. Okay, means there is when we are unable to see, there is no oxygen in our body. Yes, It is not a means those are invisible that are also processes. Those are visible that are also processes. ओके, म्हणजे आपण जे बघतोय ते तर प्रोसेसेस आहेतच, जे बघत नाही त्या पण प्रोसेसेस आहेतच ना. ओके, मग जे दिसतंय तेच आहे असं नाही, जे नाही दिसत त्याही प्रोसेसेस आर showing the sign of the living being. Okay, and that are most important for our life. If we ask this question to a professional biologist, they will say yes. In fact, viruses do not show a molecular movement in them, okay, until they infect some cell, and that is a partially partly why there is a controversy about whether they are truly alive or not. Okay, means in the viruses, whether we are taking the example of the COVID-19 or other viruses, they are unable to showing the molecular movement in their body. Means in the viruses there is the no any molecular movement in their body. Okay, means they are live or unalive, they are biotic or abiotic. That is the question. Okay, means it is the one type of controversy about the living or not. Okay, why? Our molecular movement is needed for our life. First question means from starting we are discussing about the molecular movement happen in our body. It is the invisible movement in our body, but why it is the needed as much? Okay, that is the question. We have seen in earlier classes that living organisms are a well organized structure. They can have a tissue. Okay, tissue have cells have a smaller component in them, and so on. Because of the effect of the environment, the organized order and nature of a living structure is a very likely to keep breaking down over time. Okay, as much environment our organized structure also breaking down. If order breakdown, the organisms will no longer be live. Means whether the we are discussing about the tissue or cells. Okay, in the meristematic tissue in the plant. Okay, continuously manufacturing the cells in the body only in apical region, continuously manufacturing. Okay, means here in the body, in our bone marrow, there is a continuous manufacturing the cells. So a living a creature must keep repairing and maintaining their structure. Okay, means whether there is the effect of the environment on our body, there is the breakdown of our body or breakdown of our cells that must want to repair or restructure that cells. How we can restructure that cells, which factors are responsible to recreate or restructure or repair our or maintaining our body, and that are the most important, and that are the molecular structure. Okay, and that we have seen in this chapter, and that is the what are life processes. that we will continue in tomorrow's